Captain Do-hyun Kim stood at the bridge of the Earth ship Peaceseeker, his eyes fixed on the massive alien station ahead. The structure looked like a giant silver flower floating in space, its petals made of metal and light. After decades of searching the stars, humanity had finally found intelligent life. Or rather, intelligent life had found them. The message had come 3 months ago, a friendly greeting from something called the Galactic Council. They had been watching Earth for some time, and now they decided humans were ready for contact. Do-hyun remembered how his hands had shaken when he was chosen to lead this first meeting. "Captain, they're sending docking instructions," said Han-Bai Lee, his diplomatic advisor. She was young but smart, with sharp eyes that caught every detail. "Their English is perfect. They must have studied us for a long time." Do-hyun nodded, trying to keep his face calm even though his heart was racing. "Tell the engine room to follow their instructions exactly. We can't mess this up." The Peaceseeker moved slowly toward the station. Through the main window, Do-hyun could see other alien ships. Some looked like crystals, others like clouds of light. Each one was stranger than the last. His ship, shaped like a traditional rocket, seemed old and simple next to them. The docking went smoothly. Do-hyun led his team of 5 to the airlock. Besides Han-Bai, he had chosen 2 scientists, a cultural expert and a military advisor. They had practiced this moment hundreds of times, but nothing could have prepared them for what they saw when the doors opened. The aliens waiting for them were tall and slim, with blue-tinted skin that seemed to glow from within. They looked almost human, except for their large, silver eyes and the way their hair moved like it was underwater. Do-hyun recognized them from the briefing files as Etherians, one of the oldest species in the council. "Welcome, children of Earth," the tallest Etherian said, spreading 4-fingered hands in greeting. "I am first speaker Valen. We have waited long for this day." Do-hyun bowed, following the protocol they had been sent. "Thank you for your welcome, first speaker. We are honored to represent Earth." The meeting room they were led to was huge, with windows showing the stars and Earth hanging like a blue jewel in the distance. As they sat down at a table that seemed to be made of flowing water frozen in time, Han-Bai whispered to Do-hyun, "They're scanning everything we do. Look at their eyes." She was right. The Etherians watched every human movement with intense interest. Their silver eyes recorded everything, probably sharing it with others somewhere in the station. The first few hours were simple exchanges. The aliens asked about Earth's cultures, languages, and history. They seemed especially interested in how humans had developed so quickly. Then came the question that changed everything. "We notice," said Valen, "that your species has fought many wars. Yet you survived and grew stronger. How did you manage this?" Do-hyun looked at his team. They had prepared for many questions, but not this one. He decided to be honest. "We learned from each war. Each conflict taught us to be better, to fight smarter, to fight total wars," interrupted General Min Kae-yoon, the military advisor. Do-hyun shot him a warning look, but Min Ki continued, "We learned that to win completely, we had to use everything we had. Every resource, every person, every idea." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. The Etherians' glowing skin dimmed slightly, and they looked at each other with expressions Do-hyun couldn't read. Han-Bai quickly tried to change the subject, but the damage was done. "Total war?" Valen asked, the universal translator making the words sound strange. "You mean you commit your entire civilization to conflict? Everything?" "When we have to," Do-hyun said carefully. "To defend ourselves, to survive. It's not something we're proud of. But fascinating," said another Etherian, this one shorter with darker blue skin. "And frightening. We must study this more." The rest of the meeting felt different. The Etherians were still polite, still friendly, but Do-hyun noticed how they kept their distance. How their questions changed from culture and science to military history and human conflicts. As they walked back to their ship hours later, Han-Bai touched Do-hyun's arm. "They're afraid of us," she said quietly. "Did you see how they reacted? They've never seen anything like us before." Do-hyun looked back at the station, its silver petals now seeming less beautiful and more like armor. "Maybe they're right to be afraid," he said. "Maybe we are something new to them. Something dangerous." He didn't know then how right he was, or how, in just a few years, humanity's way of war would shake the galaxy to its core. 5 years after first contact, Council member Jae-won Park sat in her office on the Galactic Central Station, reading reports that made her stomach turn. The nomads had attacked another peaceful world. This time, they had destroyed 3 major cities before disappearing back into deep space. Jae-won pulled up the holographic images of the destruction. The nomads didn't just attack, they erased everything in their path. Buildings, people, even the ground itself was turned to ash. No one knew why they attacked or what they wanted. They never tried to talk or make demands. Councillor Park, her assistant, called through the communication system. "The emergency meeting is starting." Jae-won hurried to the Great Hall. All around her, representatives from hundreds of species rushed to their seats. The usual calm and order of the council was gone. Fear had finally reached the heart of galactic civilization. First Speaker Valen stood at the center of the hall. The Aetherian leader looked tired, his usual glow dimmed with worry. "The nomads have destroyed another world," he announced. "Our defensive fleets failed to stop them. Again." The hall erupted in scared voices. Ji-won watched as different species argued with each other. The plant-like Florins wanted to hide their worlds with technology. The crystal luminaries suggested building bigger weapons. Nobody had good answers. "Perhaps," Ji-won said, standing up, "it's time we asked the humans for help." The hall went quiet. Everyone turned to look at her. Most council species still felt uncomfortable around humans. They found humanity's history of warfare disturbing. "The humans?" Valen asked. "They are still new to space. What could they offer?" "They know war," Jae-won said simply. "They understand it in ways we don't. They'd fought enemies like the nomads before, enemies that wanted total destruction." A Luminar representative spoke up, his crystal body glowing red with anger. "Are you suggesting we adopt human methods? Their concept of total war. That would go against everything we believe in." "I suggest we listen to them," Jae-won said. "The nomads have attacked 12 worlds. We've lost millions of people. Our way isn't working." The debate lasted for hours. Ji-won watched as more council members slowly started to agree with her. The fear of the nomads was stronger than their fear of human methods. Finally, Valen called for a vote. "We will request human military advisors," he announced. "But they will only advise. We will not adopt their ways of war." 2 days later, Earth sent their best military strategist, Colonel Ta-Yang Cho. He was older than Jae-won expected, with gray hair and calm eyes that had seen too many battles. He didn't waste time with polite greetings. "Show me everything you have on the nomads," he said as soon as he arrived. Every attack, every scan, every piece of debris they left behind. Jae-won took him to the council's war room. The walls showed maps of nomad attacks, forming a pattern that no one had been able to understand. Ta-Yang studied them silently for a long time. "You're fighting them wrong," he finally said. "You're treating each attack like a separate event. You're trying to defend everything at once. That's exactly what they want." "What do you mean?" Jae-won asked. "The nomads are using your own peace against you," Ta-Yang explained. "They know you'll try to protect every world equally. They know you won't strike back hard enough to hurt them. They know you won't sacrifice anything to win." He turned to face her, his eyes serious. "To beat an enemy like this, you have to be willing to lose something. To give up peace and comfort. To fight them everywhere, not just where they attack." Jae-won felt cold. "You're talking about total war." "I'm talking about survival," Ta-Yang corrected her. "The nomads understand total war better than you think. They're not just raiders. They're warriors. They're fighting with everything they have, and they'll keep winning until you do the same. As if to prove his point, the room's alarms suddenly started blaring. On the main screen, a new alert flashed. The nomads had just attacked their biggest target yet, the Etherian home system. Tai Yang looked at the alert, then back at Jaewon. Now you have a choice, he said quietly. Keep fighting your way and watch more worlds burn, or learn to fight like humans. But choose quickly. Your enemies already have. Tai Yang Cho stood before the Galactic Council, his presentation ready. The room was packed with representatives from every council species. The recent attack on the Etherian home system had scared them enough to listen. Even the most peaceful species were here, waiting to hear what the humans had to say. The nomads are winning, Tai Yang began, because you fight each battle separately. You treat war like a series of attacks. We humans learned long ago that real war is different. It changes everything it touches. He showed them images from Earth's history. Factories turning from making cars to making tanks. Farmers growing food for armies. Everyone working together to win. This is total war, he explained. It means using everything you have. Every factory, every ship, every person must help fight. Even people who never see battle must work for victory. Sun Nikang, a young council member, watched from her seat. Unlike the older members, she didn't look horrified. She looked interested. She had studied Earth's history and knew humans had survived things that should have destroyed them. What exactly are you suggesting? First speaker Valen asked, his voice tight with worry. Tai Yang brought up a new map of council space. First, stop trying to defend everything. We need to let some worlds go, temporarily, to protect the most important ones. Second, turn your civilian ships into military ships. Third, change your factories to make weapons. The council chamber erupted in shocked voices. A Luminar representative stood up, his crystal body flashing with anger. You want us to abandon our people, to turn our whole society into a war machine. I want you to survive, Tai Yang said firmly. The nomads aren't going to stop. They've attacked 13 worlds now. Each time, they learn more about your weaknesses. They're fighting a total war while you're fighting small battles. Sunma stood up. He's right, she said, her voice clear and strong. I've studied the nomad attacks. They're not random. They're testing us, learning how we fight. And they're laughing at how weak we are. The room got quiet. Sunmai was young, but she was smart. Everyone knew it. Show us more, she said to Tai Yang. Show us exactly what we need to do. Tai Yang nodded and brought up more images. He showed them how to turn passenger ships into carriers for fighter craft, how to change food production facilities into supply centers for troops, how to train civilians to help the military. But the most important change, he said, is in how you think. You have to accept that everything will be different until we win. Comfort, peace, normal life. All these must wait. An older council member, his feathers ruffled with distress, spoke up. This goes against everything we believe in. We built the council to bring peace to the galaxy. Peace doesn't work when the other side wants war, Tai Yang said quietly. The nomads don't care about your beliefs. They only understand strength. Sun Lei walked to the center of the room. I support this plan, she announced. My world will be the first to make these changes. Who will join us? The room was silent for a long moment. Then, one by one, younger council members stood up. They were the ones who had grown up hearing about the nomad attacks. They were tired of being afraid. Valen watched them with sad eyes. Do you understand what this will do to our society? He asked. The changes you are suggesting, they will affect everything. Yes, Tai Yang said. That's what total war means. It changes everything. But when the war is over, you can change back. If you don't fight this way, there might not be anything left to change back to. As if to prove his point, another alert flashed on the main screen. The nomads had attacked again, this time hitting 3 worlds at once. Their attacks were getting bigger, bolder. Sunmei looked at the alert, then at the council. "We don't have time to debate anymore," she said. "Either we learn to fight like humans, or we watch our worlds burn. Choose now." Tai Yang watched as more council members stood up, joining Sunmei. They were choosing survival over tradition. He knew what would happen next. He had seen it before, in humanity's own history. The galaxy was about to learn why humans had survived so many wars, and why the price of survival was so high. Admiral Yoon He Choi watched from the bridge of her ship as the nomads attacked Centauri Prime, the Council's largest trading world. The planet's defenses were falling apart. Council ships tried to protect the planet, but they fought like they always did, carefully, afraid of causing too much damage. The nomads didn't care about damage. Their black ships tore through the Council's defensive line like it wasn't there. They were heading straight for the planet's biggest city. "All ships, this is Admiral Choi," she said into the communication system. "Earth fleet is moving in. Follow our lead." Her fleet of 50 ships had been waiting in the shadow of Centauri Prime's moon. They were new ships, built the human way. Not beautiful like Council ships, but made for war. Now they moved toward the fight, engines burning hot. "They're not stopping," her second-in-command said, watching the nomad ships. "They think we're just more Council ships." Yoon-hee smiled. "They're about to learn different." She pressed the fleet-wide command button. "All ships, execute Battle Plan Thunder." The Earth fleet split into 3 groups, just like they had practiced. The nomads didn't change course. They had never seen this formation before. They didn't know what was coming. "Launch fighters," Yoon-hee ordered. "All weapons free. Show them how humans fight." Hundreds of small fighter ships poured out of the Earth vessels. Unlike the Council's careful pilots, these fighters flew right at the enemy. They attacked from all directions, not giving the nomads time to think. "Mom," her sensor officer called out. "Council ships are asking what we're doing. They say this isn't proper battle protocol." "Tell them to watch and learn," Yoon-hee said. She turned to her weapons officer. "Fire everything we have." Pattern Sierra. The Earth ships opened fire. They didn't shoot to disable like Council ships did. They shot to destroy. Energy beams and missiles filled space. The nomad ships tried to dodge, but there was nowhere to go. The human attack came from too many directions. On her screen, Yoon-hee watched Council commanders tearing in shock. They had never seen ships fight like this, never seen fighters ignore their own safety to attack, never seen such destruction. "Nomad ships are pulling back," her tactical officer reported. "They're trying to retreat." "Don't let them," Yoon-hee ordered. "Pursuit teams go. Don't let a single ship escape." The fastest Earth ships chased the retreating nomads. More fighters launched. The Council ships just watched as humans showed them real war. "Admiral," her communication officer said, "we're getting a message from the Council command. They're telling us to stop. They say we're breaking all the rules of space combat." Yoon-hee looked at her screen. The nomad fleet was in pieces. Destroyed ships filled space around them. No enemies had escaped. "Tell them this is how you win a war. No rules, no mercy, no survivors." Hours later, when the battle was over, Yoon-hee met with the Council commanders. They looked at her with fear in their eyes. "What you did," one of them said, his tentacles waving in distress, "it was horrible. So much destruction. So many deaths." "Yes," Yoon-hee agreed. "That's war. Real war. The kind that ends threats forever." "But there must be better ways," another commander said. "More civilized ways." Yoon-hee pointed to the planet below them. "The nomads were going to kill everyone in that city," she said. "Millions of people. Would your civilized ways have saved them? Or would they be dead now?" The commanders had no answer. They knew she was right. "This is just the beginning," Yoon-hee told them. "Now the nomads know what they're really fighting. They'll come back stronger." and we'll have to fight even harder. She looked out at the debris field that had been the Nomad fleet. You wanted to know how humans fight wars, she said quietly. Now you know. The question is, are you ready to fight this way too? Because the Nomads won't give you a choice. The council commanders looked at each other, then back at the destruction around them. They were starting to understand what total war really meant, and why humans were so good at it. Captain Minho Ba walked through what used to be the galaxy's biggest shopping center. Now, the massive space station was a weapons factory. Where people once bought clothes and toys, workers now built missiles and fighter ships. The change had happened in just 2 weeks. Amazing, isn't it? Sun Kang said, walking beside him. After supporting the humans in the council, she had been put in charge of converting civilian stations to military use. Some of these workers were selling food last month. Now they're building warships. Minho nodded. The council had finally agreed to fight the human way. Now he was seeing what that really meant. Every factory, every station, every ship was becoming part of the war effort. Nothing was being wasted. The Nomads hit 3 more worlds yesterday, Sun Mai told him. But this time, we were ready. The new defense fleets stopped them. Human-style ships and tactics. They reached the center of the station. The Grand Plaza where children once played was now a military command center. Officers from Earth and the Council worked together, planning attacks and defense strategies. Captain Ba, a voice called. Minho turned to see Colonel Ta Yang Cho walking toward them. The old strategist looked tired but satisfied. Your fleet is ready. The first full attack force built the human way. Minho had been chosen to lead the first major counterattack against the Nomads. His fleet wasn't just council ships with new weapons. It was something entirely new. Ships built for total war, crewed by people who now understood what that meant. Show me, Minho said. They went to the viewing deck. Through the huge windows, Minho could see his fleet. 100 ships, bigger and stronger than anything the council had built before. They weren't pretty like old council ships. They were built for one purpose, to win. The council members are scared of those ships, Sun Mai said quietly. They say they look like killing machines. They are killing machines, Minho replied. That's what we need to beat the Nomads. Pretty ships don't win wars. A young council aide rushed up to them, holding a datapad. Captain, we found it. The Nomad home system. Everyone got quiet. They had been searching for months, trying to find where the Nomads came from. Now they had a chance to strike back at the heart of their enemy. How did we find it? Minho asked. Human intelligence methods, Tai Yang explained. We followed their supply lines, tracked their movements. The council never thought to do that. They were too focused on defending. Minho looked at his fleet again. Then we know where to strike first. The council is still debating, Sun Mai warned. Some members think attacking their home system is too aggressive. They want to try talking first. The time for talking is over, Minho said. He turned to Ta Yang. How many civilian stations and factories are in the Nomad system? Many, Ta Yang said. They build their ships there, train their warriors there. Their whole society supports their war effort. Then that's what we'll target, Minho said. Not just their warships. Everything that helps them fight. That's what total war means. Sun Le looked worried. The council won't like that. Attacking civilian targets. There are no civilian targets in total war, Minho interrupted. The Nomads understand that. Now we do too. He watched as more ships joined his fleet. They were ready. The galaxy was about to see what happened when humans took charge of a war. Send the order, he told Sun Mai. All ships prepare for jump. We're taking the fight to them. As his crew began preparing for battle, Minho thought about how much had changed. The council had wanted to learn about human warfare. Now they were about to see its full power. May the stars help us all, Sun Mai whispered, watching the fleet prepare for war. Minho didn't answer. The stars wouldn't help them now. Only human determination and the will to win at any cost would save them. The real war was about to begin. Lieutenant Jin Song stood in the ruins of what had been the Nomad's biggest shipyard. 3 days ago, this space station had built warships. Now it was broken metal floating in space. Her job was to record everything for the Council archives. They needed to know the true cost of human warfare. Over here, her guide said. He was a young Council scientist named Da-hyun Nam. You should see this. They floated through the wreckage in their spacesuits. Jin A's camera recorded everything. The destruction was complete. Captain Minho's fleet had done exactly what they planned. They had destroyed everything that could help the Nomads fight. Look at this, Da-hyun said, pointing to a broken piece of metal. This wasn't a military area. This was their living space. Families lived here. Jin A nodded slowly. That's what total war means. We destroy everything that supports the enemy, even places where families live. They moved deeper into the wreckage. Jin A's sensors picked up no life signs. The attack had been perfect, too perfect. Nothing had survived. Another fleet hit their food production stations, Da-hyun told her, and another destroyed their fuel refineries. The humans call it strategic targeting, but really it means we're starving them. Jin A finished, cutting off everything they need to live, not just fight. Her camera kept recording. The Council needed to see this. They needed to understand what they had agreed to when they accepted human methods. It's working, though, Da-hyun said quietly. The Nomads haven't attacked any Council worlds in 2 weeks. They're too busy trying to survive. Jin A's radio crackled. Lieutenant Song, Captain Minho's voice came through. Report to the command ship. The Nomads are sending a message. When they got back to the command ship, everyone was gathered in the main room. The Nomads had never tried to communicate before. Now, after 3 weeks of human-style warfare, they wanted to talk. The message appeared on the main screen. The Nomads looked almost like huge insects, their dark armor covering bodies that were built for war. But now they looked different. Tired. Beaten. We wish to discuss terms, the Nomad leader said. Its voice was translated by computers. You fight in ways we did not expect. Ways we cannot match. Captain Minho stepped forward. You attacked peaceful worlds. Killed millions. Why should we talk now? Because you have shown us true war, the Nomad said. We thought the Council was weak. But they're new human allies. You understand war better than we do. You are willing to destroy everything. Jin A kept her camera running. This was important. The Nomads, who had terrorized the galaxy for years, were admitting defeat. If we agree to peace, the Nomad leader asked, will you stop the attacks? Our young are starving. Our worlds are burning. We cannot rebuild fast enough to fight you. Sun Nikang, who had come from the Council, spoke up. You see now why total war was forbidden on Earth. Why humans know its power but fear using it. The Nomad leader's antenna drooped. We understand now. We thought war was about fighting. You showed us it is about destroying everything that makes fighting possible. The peace talks took 3 days. The Nomads agreed to never attack Council worlds again. They would give up most of their warships. Human observers would make sure they kept their promises. Later, Jin A watched her recordings with Sunbai and Captain Minho. The images of destruction seemed worse now that the war was over. The Council is already talking about making laws, Sunbai said. Laws against this kind of warfare. They're scared of how quickly we won. They should be scared, Minho said. Total war works. That's what makes it so dangerous. Once you know it works, it's tempting to use it again. Jin A looked at her camera. Should I show them everything? All the destruction? Show them everything, Minho said firmly. They need to understand why Earth banned total war except as a last resort. Why we keep it as a final option, but hope we never need it again. The victory was complete. But as Jin A looked at the images of destroyed worlds and broken stations, She wondered if winning this way had cost them something they couldn't see, something more important than ships and stations. Dae-hyun Nam walked through the empty halls of what used to be a beautiful garden world. The nomads had attacked this planet first, months ago. Then human forces had fought here to take it back. Now nothing lived on its surface. His job was to study what total war did to planets and people. Over here, Scientist Nam called one of his assistants. They had found something in the ruins. A child's toy. It was half buried in the gray dust that covered everything. The toy was from the time before the war, when families had lived here. Dae-hyun picked it up carefully. His scanner showed high radiation levels. The battles had poisoned the soil. Nothing would grow here for 100 years. Add it to the evidence, he said quietly. The council needs to see everything. His team had visited 10 worlds like this one, some destroyed by the nomads, others damaged in the fighting to stop them. The war was over, but its effects would last for generations. A ship appeared in the sky above them. It was carrying Sun Mi-kang and several council members. They were touring the damaged worlds, seeing the results of their decision to fight the human way. It's worse than I imagined, one council member said as they stepped out of the ship. His crystal body dimmed at the sight of the destruction. We won the war, but at what cost? Dae-hyun showed them his findings. The radiation levels, the poisoned water, the broken cities that couldn't be rebuilt. This is what happens, he explained. When we use everything we have to win. The damage isn't just to buildings, it's to the whole world. Sunli looked older than she had before the war. Show them the numbers, she said. How many worlds were affected? Dae-hyun brought up his data on a portable screen. 15 worlds can't be lived on anymore. 30 more need 50 years of cleanup before people can return. The nomad home systems are even worse. But we won, another council member said. The nomads will never attack again. Yes, Dae-hyun agreed, because we proved we could destroy them completely. Not just their ships and soldiers, but their whole civilization. That's what scared them most. They walked through the ruins of what had been the planet's capital city. The buildings were just shells now. The streets were filled with gray dust that used to be something else. Nobody wanted to think about what. The humans warned us, Sunmi said. They told us total war changes everything it touches. Now we understand why they tried to avoid it for so long. A young council aide rushed up to them, holding a data pad. News from the council. They're calling an emergency meeting. Some worlds are already copying human weapons and tactics. They're saying if total war works so well, they want to be ready to use it too. Everyone got quiet. This was what they had feared. Now that the galaxy had seen how effective total war could be, others wanted that power. We need to go back, Sunmi said. The council has to decide what to do before this spreads. As they walked back to their ship, Dae-hyun noticed something moving in the ruins. A small robot, still working after all this time. It was trying to clean the streets, following its programming from before the war. It didn't understand that the city it served was gone forever. Should I include that in the report? He asked Sunmi, pointing to the robot. She watched it for a moment, then nodded. Include everything. The council needs to understand what they're dealing with. Total war doesn't just destroy the enemy. It destroys everything it touches. Even the winners lose something. They left the dead world behind, heading back to the council station. But Dae-hyun knew they were leaving something else behind too. The galaxy's innocence. Now everyone knew what total war could do, and that knowledge could never be unknown. The real challenge wasn't winning the war. It was dealing with what came after. The galaxy had learned humanity's most dangerous lesson, and now they had to decide what to do with that knowledge. The Great Council chamber was more crowded than it had ever been. Representatives from every species had come to debate the future of warfare in the galaxy. Earth's representative, Ha-won Park, sat quietly as she watched them argue. The human method works, shouted a young council member from a warrior species. We defeated the nomads in 3 months when we couldn't stop them for 3 years. But at what cost? Answered an older member, his plant-like body trembling. Scientist Nam, show them your findings again. Dahyun Nam stepped forward. Behind him, huge screens showed images of destroyed worlds. His voice was calm but sad as he spoke. 15 worlds are dead. Nothing can live there for centuries. 30 more worlds are poisoned. Their water, their soil, their air. The nomad home systems are worse. Their children will be born sick for generations. The chamber got quiet. The images were hard to look at. Had one noticed how many council members turned away from the screens? But we had no choice, Sun Mikang said, standing up. The nomads would have destroyed us all. Sometimes you have to choose between horrible options. First speaker Valen raised his hands for quiet. That is why we are here today. Not to judge what was done, but to decide what we will allow in the future. Already, 12 worlds have started building weapons like the humans use. 20 more want to learn human battle tactics. Let them learn, called out another member. We should all be ready to fight this way if we need to. Hewan stood up. Everyone turned to look at her. Humans were still new to the council, but after the war, everyone listened when they spoke about fighting. You don't understand what you're asking for, she said quietly. My people didn't develop total war because we wanted to. We developed it because we had to survive. Each time we used it, it cost us something precious. She walked to the center of the chamber. Total war doesn't just destroy your enemy. It changes you, changes your whole society. Everything becomes about winning. Everything becomes a weapon. Even after you win, those changes stay with you. But it works, someone said. That's what matters. Yes, it works. Hawan agreed. It works so well that you'll be tempted to use it again and again, until you forget how to solve problems any other way. She pointed to the images of destroyed worlds. Look at what we did to the nomads. Not just their warriors, their whole civilization, their children, their future. We didn't just defeat them. We broke them completely. Lieutenant Jinna Song stepped forward next. She had recorded everything during the war. Now she showed new videos, not just of destruction, but of people changing. Watch, she said. See how quickly peaceful people learned to think like warriors. How easily they accepted destroying whole worlds. How fast they forgot their old values. The videos showed council species learning to fight the human way, learning to target civilian areas, learning to think of everything as a weapon, learning to stop caring about damage and focus only on winning. That's what scares us most, Hawan said. Not that you learned our methods, but that you learned them so easily. That's why Earth limits total war to last resorts only. Because once you start thinking this way, it's hard to stop. The debate went on for hours. Some wanted to keep human methods as an option. Others wanted to ban them completely. The younger species argued with the older ones. The peaceful species argued with the warrior ones. Finally, Valen called for quiet again. We have heard enough. Now we must decide. Will we allow total war to become common in our galaxy, or will we learn from humanity's experience and put limits on it? Hadwan watched the council members look at each other. They had all seen the power of human warfare. They had seen how well it worked, but now they were also seeing its true cost. Before you vote, she said, remember this. The nomads learned about total war the hard way. Do you want other species to learn the same way? Or should we stop this now, before it spreads? The chamber fell silent as the council prepared to vote. The future of warfare in the galaxy hung in the balance. Captain Do Yum Kim stood at the same spot where he had first met the council 6 years ago. The station looked different now. Guards stood at every door. Weapon scanners checked everyone who entered. The galaxy had changed since that first meeting. The vote is finished, Han Bai Li told him, walking quickly to his side. She had been with him at that first meeting too. They're about to announce the results. The council chamber was completely full. Every species had voted on the new law about total war. Now they would all hear what the galaxy had decided. First speaker Valen stood at the center of the room. He looked tired but determined. "The council has voted," he announced. "The Total War Prohibition Act has passed. From this day forward, the methods of total war are forbidden except in the most extreme cases." Do-hyun watched the reactions around the room. Some nodded in agreement. Others looked angry. A few seemed afraid. "The law has three main parts," Valen continued. "First, no species may attack civilian targets, even in war. Second, no one may build weapons designed to destroy whole worlds. Third, no one may turn their entire society into a war machine." Sun Likang stood up. "And what if we face another enemy like the nomads? What if we need these methods to survive?" "The law allows exceptions," Valen explained, "but only if 3/4 of the council agrees. We will not ban total war completely. We have learned it might be needed, but we will make it very hard to use." Taiyang Cho, the old human strategist, spoke next. "It won't work," he said simply. "You can't just ban a way of thinking. Once people know how effective total war is, they'll want to use it." "That's why the law has teeth," Valen replied. "Any species that breaks these rules will be cut off from council trade and support. Their leaders will face trial. Their victims will receive help to rebuild." Do-hyun noticed how the younger council members whispered to each other. They had seen Total War's power firsthand. Would they really give up such an effective weapon? "There's more," Valen said. "Earth has agreed to share its defense technology with the council. In return, we will help protect Earth's colonies. Together, we will find better ways to keep peace." Lieutenant Jinna Song's videos played on the big screens, scenes of destruction, of dead worlds, of broken civilizations. "This is what we're trying to prevent," Valen said. "Not just the destruction, but what it does to us, how it changes anyone who uses it." Do-hyun remembered his first meeting with the council, how innocent they had seemed then, how peaceful. Now they knew humanity's darkest secret, that sometimes survival meant doing terrible things. "Earth supports this law," he announced, standing up. "We developed total war because we had to. We used it because we had no choice. But if we can help create a galaxy where it's not needed, we will." "Some say this makes us weak," Valen said. "That giving up such a powerful weapon is foolish. But look at the nomad worlds now. Look at what total war did to them. Is that the galaxy we want?" The chamber was quiet. Everyone was thinking about what they had seen in the war, what they had learned about themselves. "The law takes effect tomorrow," Valen announced. "Let this be remembered as the day we chose a better path. The day we decided that winning at any cost costs too much." Later, Do-hyun stood at a window, looking at Earth in the distance. Hanbi joined him there. "Will it work?" she asked quietly. "Can we really stop people from using total war now that they know about it?" "Maybe not," Do-hyun admitted. "But we have to try." Humanity learned about total war the hard way, through centuries of terrible wars. If we can help the galaxy learn an easier way, maybe that makes up for showing them how it works in the first place. They watched ships pass by the station. Some were being converted back to peaceful uses. Others were being dismantled. The galaxy was trying to change. "At least now they understand," Do-hyun said. "Total war isn't just about fighting. It's about what you're willing to lose to win. Sometimes the price of victory is too high." The law was just the beginning. The real work would be helping the galaxy find better ways to solve its problems. Humanity had shown them their darkest solution. Now they had to help them find brighter ones.